I am Bilal Morris, and this is Belizean Legends. As Belizeans, we have a great history of achievement. We are fortunate to witness some magnificent athletic performances. We've been privileged to enjoy great musical concerts from extraordinary musical artists. As a nation, we have struggled politically, but also made great progress. Culturally, we continue to evolve as a society. Where were you when some of these incredible moments occurred? Belizean Legends will transcend you back into time to relive some of these spectacular events and offer some behind-the-scenes perspective on the untold stories, as well as updating you on the individual lives featured in this series.
Doreth Martinez, one of the legendary softball players from the 1974 through 1979 softball era. Doreth played many different eras on the softball field. She represented Belize in a lot of the international competitions, including the Central American and the Caribbean games, and she stood out as one of the great hitters, one of the great catchers, and I think that she also pitched at one time, right? Doreth, welcome to the documentary, When We Were Queens. What I want to first ask you is give us a brief history of your softball career, when you started to play and how did you come to play the game?
Well, as a young girl, raised up in the village of Doublehead Cabbage, Belize district, I played women's softball right through primary school. And as usual, you know, they have these coaches that come out to the villages. So I was playing softball one day and I was scouted out by the great manager Raymond Lashley, who at that time felt like it was important for me to get into the sports a little bit deeper, but I would need to move to the city. I was about 14, 15, so it was just a perfect timing getting into high school. So if you want to call it like your when you're recruited, you know, so they recruited me to come to Belize City. I started junior secondary and I played junior secondary high school, and then went to Belize Technical College. I played for Belize Technical College and we won a couple of championships for Technical College in women's softball. And then from college, we kind of sort of went right into the women's league. So I played for Berger 303 under Raymond Lashley, and then I played for the women's national softball team under Raymond Lashley as well, and also the late Charles Solis. So that spanned over a period of about 5 to 7 years. I started playing seriously in 1974, and I wasn't chosen to be on the national selection team until 1975, when we went to Jamaica. There was a cast tournament in Jamaica. At that time, it was 4 countries: Belize, Bahamas, Jamaica, and the Bahamas, Jamaica, Belize, and one other nation. So it was only 4 teams though, and so I went to Jamaica that first year, and I was picked really just to be a runner, because that's all I could do. I was about 14 years old and I could run. And so it wasn't until 1975 when the Belize team won the gold medal in Santo Domingo. I wasn't part of the gold medal team, but I was already playing with the likes of Linda Lewis and Iselin Heed, Noreen Bowden. And so I came into being, I want to say I came into being around 1975. And I went to Jamaica as a runner. I came back that year, and in 1975, I really became a member of the national team, and that's when my hitting really improved. And consequently, I became one of the most hard-hitting women's softball player. Part of our record in the 1981 World Championship in El Salvador, I was placed 3rd for the batting crown that year. So my skills really developed, you know, in about 1975.
You have an incredible softball history, and though you were not there to represent Belize in the 1974 gold medal national team that won the gold at the Central American and Caribbean Games, I would suppose that you went on then to represent Belize in the 1979 Pan American Games that beat the United States in that game. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, as usual, you know, any teams from the Caribbean were, cited as maybe third class players. So the United States never thought about Belize as a competing team. So we went up against the United States pretty much early in the competition, and we were expected to lose, like anybody else thought so. So it was Margaret Usher on the mound and Claudette Bush catching, and I was the leadoff hitter. Well, ever since the local teams, Berger Trio 3 and all of them, I was always the local hitter for the local team. But when I got on the All Belize team, I was also the leadoff hitter for the All Belize team. So that day, we went up against one of United States pitcher who has never lost a game in about 10 years, I understand. I'm not sure. But she had an incredible record. And so we thought that we would just go up against this team and see what we could do. Margaret Usher was incredible. She was a smart pitcher. And so I got the first hit. It was a double. And one thing that I could always remember, that our first base coach, Charles Solis, was so happy that we got a hit. I turned first base and I felt something just grabbed me in the back of my jersey, and it was him trying to hold me down at first. But I was already in the dirt at second plate, And so we had runners on the bases. A couple of players sacrificed themselves, like Geraldine Garbett and Beulah Gillett, and Cynthia Casey and Glenda Ellis drove those 2 runs home.
Yeah, she talked about it.
Yes.
She made that hit.
Yes.
And then you guys were in scoring position, and after that,
we were in scoring positions. We had runners at the corners, and the United States couldn't figure out what to do. Again, remember, we have an excellent pitcher on the mound, Margaret Usher, and she's smart. In those days, we played by sign. We never speak out loud. We were just looking at her eyes. We knew where she would throw the ball, whether it was going to be an outside ball or inside ball or low.
Wow.
Right? So we scored the first 2 runs of the very first inning. And you know what? We never scored another run, and so did they.
It kept on. It was a tight game right to the end.
To 7 innings. It was a duel, and it became a pitcher's duel. But in that game, we did broke that pitcher's record. I think her name was Barbara Renaldo. Yeah, she had
that's the name that I heard.
Yeah, she had a no-hit record for about 10 years. No team in the world could hit her.
I think you were the one that told me off the record when I spoke with you that she was boasting that nobody hit her ball.
Exactly.
And
so
you told her, you said that day, well, today you're going to see who is going to hit that.
Right. And I mean, they were like nervous. Nerve-wracking was the word I would think, because they couldn't figure out how could a little tiny team, and tiny women too, because I was tiny, and she couldn't figure out how did somebody do a line drive on her.
Yeah.
So
she couldn't pitch to you.
Could not. So of course, at the end of the day, when we went to our dorms, and the rumors were all going around that Belize had beaten the United States, and everybody was saying, well, how did this happen? How did this happen? And the players were calling into the United States, well, we lost to this little team named Belize. And the family was saying, well, who is Belize? Where are they? Where are they at? I've never heard about them. And so that was the rumor and the gossip through the whole Pan American venue at that time. But it was heroic for all of us, because our people in Belize were listening by radio. We never had television at that time. And so I could just imagine how our fans felt, when they heard that we had scored and that we maintained those 2 runs and held on until 7 innings. I mean, that was pretty hard to do. Very, very hard, yeah.
That even the young softball players of today, when I spoke with some of them, in reference to this documentary, they were like, wow, we would love to see that game. Because you can see where they lack that sort of discipline and sort of the winnings and the kind of passion that you guys have. And you could tell that something like what we are doing now is very important for them to see and for them to hear the stories, because then it could fire them up. That we once played the game at the excellence that we do, and you could also play still. You can still play it again. What message do you really have for those young ballers down in Belize there that are playing the game today?
Well, the sport is no different. Maybe some rules have changed, but what really needs to be changed is the mentality about the sport. If you're going to go into the sport, you have to be very serious. and you want to be able to love the game in order to play it and respect it. So therefore, if you're playing the game, you're playing. You're not partying. You're trying to nourish your body. You're trying to exercise right, sleep right, and things of this nature. So it's not just going out on a diamond and try to perform. You have to be absolutely in your game, and you need to really work hard at it. So I would say that from what I see now, is lacking is the determination to put 100% or 110% in the game. And if they could try to accomplish that, Belize probably would have a competing team back on the scene again. They really, really need to respect each other, respect your coaches. We listen. There are many a times the coaches were just next to slapping us. If you consider some of the hits that you got on your leg and so on, it felt like a slap, right? But that was your coach budging you on like a good thoroughbred racehorse. You give them that budge, you know, and you mean something. So the girls today, they don't want to listen. And I think if they would just listen a little bit more and pay attention to details, you know, that they could refine the game and refine everything about their playing skills. And you would see that collectively as a team, you know. So I am waiting for that day to come. I remember about 5-10 years ago, I had challenged Mr. Raymond Lashley that if he would come out of retirement again, because what I saw was a lot of potential, but I didn't saw the dedication of the players, you know. So total respect for the game. So partying and such has to stay aside. There's always going to be a time for that. So when you win, and you can celebrate, right?
Yes, sir.
And party in the right way. So yeah.
You all had a certain degree of practice that you put into the game. The planning. You all were always seen. Roger Stadium, wherever you go across the villages, you see players playing ball, practicing. So you could see why that cadre of players developed that kind of sportsmanship throughout the whole time. You are also very involved in cricket. You are a great contributor to sports programs in Belize.
Yes.
Tell us about some of the things that you are doing.
Well, right now we are trying to see if we can expand cricket in Belize, not only Belize Rural North, but probably the other part of the regions of the country. It's just the Belize Rural North, and I don't quite understand just why that area. So we just recently supported the Double-Head Cabbage back-to-back champion cricket team to come out here, and they played against the SCC, Southern California Cricket Association's A-League teams, an all-selection team that was picked to play, and they won, and they did very well. They got a trophy, and those players feel really, really great. So we're hoping that we can empower other villages, other townships to start trying to improve on their game plans so that we can improve the sport. Likewise, the women's softball. I'm also involved in the softball team for Double-Head Cabbage and trying to assist them in giving them equipment and things like this. And I just spoke with the sports council leader, Mr. Patrick Henry. I'm going to be donating some balls maybe next week. So we're going to ship those out pretty soon. So whatever, I can do to help, support the sport. I mean, that's what we're here for. Once we move on from the playing, now we become role models in trying to support, the sport in Belize. So, but primarily I'm with women's softball because that's my passion. But I get involved with basically a lot of the sports, just to help out.
Very much. That is so great. After many years of being one of the great champions of a sport in Belize, you are now contributing and giving back. That's really what we need.
Fundraising becomes a big issue, and so we don't expect them to come out of their pocket for everything, but we expect them to start working hard, and therefore their supporters will work and match the same thing. So it's a big effort, and if we get more people on board, I'm sure that sports can excel on a whole in Belize. Yeah.
Final question I would like to ask you before we wrap up is the mentorship that came from those coaches. What was that relationship between player and coaches that you guys developed during that time? It's so phenomenal.
Well, the coaches, number one, were very dedicated to the sport. These men didn't have to do this. They're all career men. Some are in the police department, some in business. They didn't have to do this. And some of the other politicians as well. So we had some financial backing from the political side. Because for me, for once, I wouldn't have gone where I'm at, because it was when I graduated from the Belize Technical College is when I realized it was a politician paying my school fees. So I was drafted and I didn't know who was sending me to college until I graduated, right? So it's the passion that they had for the sport, the knowledge of the sport. I think they took a great deal of time to read and update themselves about the sport with whatever information they had at the time. And as time passed and the rules changed, and of course these men were getting older too, you know, so things sort of kind of fall off. But I believe that they poured a lot of their time into knowledge so that they could pass it on to us. And likewise, the women were more cooperative. I want to say cooperative because I don't want to say that they're rebellious, but I see some rebellion. You know, like, oh, I know how to do it. No, you don't, right? And that's why you have coaches there. And so I feel like we listened to the coaches more. There was never an argument. We were like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. And we tried to do what they asked us to do, right? And so I think this is where we have a little gap where players are trying to play on their own. And I have never seen any team anywhere in the world that win without a good coach or a team not listening to a coach. So I think the camaraderie had built as the years went by over a certain number of players as the other ones grew older, and that over a period of time what you had was a group of young players that listened. And because of that, we were able to put together that team from, say, after the gold medal in 1974, a very, very strong, competitive team of young women, all about 18, 19, 20 in age. You didn't have too young, you didn't have too old, but they were young and strong and athletic. Me, for one, when I worked out, I had to do a circular around the track before I even went to Rogers Stadium. And our fans were extremely important. The minute you hear a cheering squad, your adrenaline start moving and you want to perform, right?
You see that in international sports all over the world.
Yes, the fans make a difference, because all of a sudden you know they're cheering. I'm going to show them what I can do. So you want to perform. And you don't want to make a mistake. You're not there to make a mistake.
There was a whole country that was behind you.
The country was behind us. And I could even remember coming from the villages, and one principal of a high school, his name is Mr. Gilbert Tascasi. He would always call and say, Doreth, you do not know the thrill that you have given to us. He said, I would go out on a Friday evening and I would make sure I buy my batteries for my radio, because the All Belize was playing tonight and we wanted to hear these girls' names.
We didn't have TV.
No TV, it was radio. It was a radio. So everybody, like in the villages, had their radios and their batteries all charged up, ready to go. So the fans were deep in the country. It wasn't right only in the city. You had people of all areas out in the outskirts of Belize listening and cheering on. So the fans were extremely important to our success.
It was an amazing thing to watch those games at the MCC grounds, to watch the international competitions, the Central American and Caribbean games where you guys were whipping Bermuda, Jamaica, Bahamas, Salvador.
Right, that year, 1977 was a year when they came to Belize, and that year the Bahamas had a very fast runner named Candide Gregory. And everybody was talking about Candide Gregory. So it was a challenge for me, because I was told that she's faster than you. So I had a mission to go out and prove everybody wrong, that I could beat this challenge, you know. So they came to Belize that year, and of course we won. And I had won the most valuable player that year also, for the most base runs. So there's a lot of statistics, but I don't dwell on the statistics too much. I just try to let people remember me for who I was.
You're a great base stealer.
Yes.
What was it with most of you all were stealers? You all were like take some chances to steal those bases.
Well, I could run really fast.
Yeah.
And when it's time to count on me going for a slide or for a head first, I had to determine which one, whether it's going to be a hand or a foot.
Your speed was
so the speed, the speed was and I truly believe the speed was what tipped or hat over with that game against the United States, because I strongly believe that had I not take a double on that first play, we wouldn't have had ourselves in a scoring position, to so to speak, and it made it much easier when I got on right away. And then we were able to sacrifice at least one person, so we knew we stood a big chance of scoring at least one run. But we were lucky enough to score two, and so so we scored the victory.
Wonderful, Doreth. It was such a wonderful experience just to talk with you in this short period of time.
Yes.
And one last thing, give me your best highlights of your entire softball career. A highlight in a specific game. An international competition. What is it?
Well, I could remember one play that we had in, we were in Medellin, Colombia, and Belize was playing against, I think it's either Brazil or Puerto Rico. And there was a fly ball to right center, and Belize was going to lose. And I chased that ball going backwards, and it was caught going down on my back. And all I could hear is the crowd yelling and screaming. I knew I came up with the bar.
Excellent catch.
Excellent catch. It was one of those catchers chasing the ball with my back turned to the diamond.
You see a lot of that in the baseball today.
Exactly, right. So so that was one of the best plays that I had. But I would say still the other great play was that same one with the United States, where I did the line drive that got me the second, and those other women did their part.
Doreth Martinez, legendary softball enthusiast, phenom, that played the game, one of the best during that era, 1974 to 1979. One of the legendary and great players who gave Belize that victory in the 1979 Pan American Games where they beat the United States. I want to thank you very much for coming in and giving us this opportunity.
And thank you so much. I want to appreciate you for what you're doing, because at this time and place, a lot of people would have given up. But you are soul searching and you're digging deep, and you have the stamina like a bull. You haven't given up.
10 years.
We've been trying, right? So here we are.
I got to do this story.
Absolutely. So I wish you the best, and I hope that all the other players will come in and do their part, so this could be a project that everyone will be able to look at and remember. We won't have physical actual video play of the games, but at least you can hear it from our mouths, what went on.
And encourage the young ones.
Absolutely. So I wish all the young players a lot of success, and just hold your head up strong, and discipline is going to be the key. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.